Welcome to Motorcycle News and welcome to Ride Magazine as well, because today we're actually joining our sister title in their domain as well for a special collaboration test. Today we're here with a CF Moto 800 NK Advanced and the Cove 800X Pro. You've seen these bikes on our channel, on our website and in the paper. We've really rated these bikes. These have been a pleasant surprise in the world of Chinese bikes where historically they've not been all that good. They've been at best low rent copies of existing designs, but now they're really pushing forward and they're trying to compete with the best that Japan, Europe and the USA has to offer. So joining us today is Matt. He's Ride Magazine's editor and he's going to explain what we're doing with these two bikes today.
So the plan is to ride these things non-stop over the next 24 hours to answer every kind of question you can. So we're taking the Cove off-road, we're having the CF Moto ridden as hard as we can by our sort of resident ex-BSB head case, we're taking them commuting, we're taking them on motorways, and then for the last 2 hours we're going to ride them flat out on an airfield just to test them and stress them in every possible moment and to answer the question, can you really trust them?
And when he and all the other riders are doing that, we've got support from Insta360 for this test. So when they're out and about and they're on a great bit of road or a long slog of motorway, grinding it out, learning what these bikes are like over distance, we're going to be able to capture all of it. We've got their iconic X4 360 panoramic action camera on the bars. We've also got the Ace Pro action cam as well. They're going to be on chin mounts and chest mounts, so we can capture all the angles, no matter where the bikes are, what time of day it is, so we can bring you some stunning footage from this test.
I'm 4 hours and 160 miles into my time with the Cove. It's been an interesting experience so far. I've done on-road, off-road, nothing's gone wrong, nothing's broken.
So that's stint number one done. Yeah, the 800 NK Advance has been pretty solid, as you'd expect it to be. Yeah, it's survived this long and now it's got to survive you guys. So.
Well, talking of us, we're off to Whitby now.
How you doing, Al?
I'm a bit cold around the edges and I didn't like the fog as we've just come over the top there.
It's about 7:30 in the morning. I have just finished sort of the first stint of the night shift.
It's 12 noon and the 24-hour test is over. Both these bikes have covered about 1,000 miles each over this time and they've been used in every scenario. We've been through cities, we've had long rides on motorways. The Cove has been off-road, it's been on technical trails, it's been on gravel roads, as you can see by the state of it. And we've spent the last 2 hours taking these things flat out up and down the airfield. I think we've hit top speed about 100 times each on each bike, would you say?
It's got to be in that region,
yeah,
for sure.
So this is a really tough test, and the standout is that nothing's really gone wrong. There's been no warning lights that have come on, there's been no kind of strange stutters or glitches. Both bikes have performed really well. And there's been negligible oil use. The back tyre on the CF Moto is a bit knackered, but it was knackered when we started. It's a long-term test bike from one of our sister magazines.
It was. It wasn't clever to start with, and to be fair, that's the only real accusation you can level at. The tyres are a little bit substandard for the quality of the rest of the bike.
But the whole thing has worked out really well and been a very interesting test. Chris, you've been lucky enough to ride both of these bikes during this test. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I did the graveyard shift on the Cove from 8 PM to 4 AM this morning, which started well and got a lot worse. I mean, the weather forecast was pretty good, but because it was a clear night, it was just so cold and lots of moisture and fog and thick fog at one point.
How was the bike's fuelling in that kind of really cold, dense air? Did it feel all right?
It was. I had the same issue that everybody else had with the Cove, in that it's just kind of really abrupt, that first touch. It's almost like it's an ignition thing, that it just suddenly advances the curve and you just never know quite where you are in that first bit of the travel.
I noticed that especially when we were doing some kind of real technical trail riding, like over some real rocks and boulders where you just want to trickle up stuff. It just wanted to either go feel like full gas or nothing, and you had to kind of really balance it on the clutch. It's quite hard work.
Sure. And the only niggle that you perhaps didn't notice, but I did, the temperature readout on the Cove is all wrong. It's reading either -1 or -41, and I did wonder whether the bike is seeing the wrong ambient temperature and it's then throwing lots of fuel at it. But Carl has ridden one of these before and says it's just the same, so that's just how they are, and that's something that R&D needs to look at, and I guess diagnostics could fix the sort of weird dash issue there. But no, other than that, there's no big issue with it. What it feels like is a European bike from a few years ago that's kind of in its first generation. I mean, KTM were guilty of this, where they almost hadn't quite finished the bike, and the core was good, but it just needed more work. So again, with the throttle on this, the brakes were a little bit wooden. I thought, considering their radial forepots, they could do with a bit more bite. Suspension set a little bit too harshly for floating along B roads.
It was interesting. So on quick B roads, it felt quite harsh, and it kind of got the traction control upset a few times when you're really pressing on. And off road, it was good on gravel roads, but on rocks and stuff, it felt like it didn't have enough give at all, and it'd ping you from rock to rock. Made me sweat.
Yeah, I'm sure it's got the capability in there. And then I didn't spend any time on the road on the CF Moto, but I've ridden it here at the strip, and I can see why everybody really liked it. Nobody had kind of much of a bad word to say. I mean, Alison hadn't used the big display before, was a little bit confused by it, but that's something you get used to with the ownership experience. But other than that, it's got a great engine. You put it in street mode and the fueling's really nice. It's a little bit aggressive in sport if you're just pottering around. Brakes good, it was comfortable enough, it was good on fuel.
It seems like it's much more of a well-rounded package than the Cove. It feels like it's a few more years down the road when it comes to development.
Yeah, of course. CF Moto have got a leg up from KTM with this bike, and I mean, I know in the comments there's going to be people talking about camshafts, so whether that's a good thing or not is up to you to decide. But obviously KTM have already put some work into the sort of core frame and engine of this, but then all the manufacturing is now with CF Moto, so that's what we were really here to test. I mean, it's nice to kind of get a feel for these bikes, but we were sort of here to work out if Chinese manufacturing is producing bikes that the British buying public, and in fact the global buying public, can trust. And okay, this is only 1,000 miles, but they've been a hard 1,000 miles, and there's nothing here that really concerns me. I mean, Carl, bless him, was doing some brutal sort of full-on British Supersport spec launches on this, and the clutch is fine. I rode it and had it flat out and was going up and down the gearbox and messing around doing skids and wheelies. It feels absolutely fine, and I'm sure it'll be until its next service.
And it hit 130 mile an hour.
It hit 137 mile an hour repeatedly, and it's good as gold.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting, and for me the standout is that is a real genuine alternative to a Hornet, to a GSX 8S, or even something like a Triumph Trident.
Well, exactly. It's cheaper than all of them, and in fact KTM still sell the 790 Duke, made in the same factory with the same bits and pieces, and this is the better bike. And that's that kind of extra bit that it's got. It's come from CF Moto, not from KTM. They've just provided the core engineering. The detail and the finish is from the Chinese, and okay, they've got some input from their European R&D centre, but it's still made by a factory in China that 10 years ago, if you said, would you buy an 800cc twin from a Chinese factory, you go, no, you wouldn't, unless you were kind of just really hell-bent on buying a dirt cheap bike and just riding it into the floor, which was historically what Chinese bikes were bought for.
And equally, I think there's lots of good things to be taken from this. We're talking about the abrupt fueling, but the sort of chassis feel, the design, the standing position when you're off-road, in fact the comfort as well, apart from the screen, which is a bit poor, has been really good. And I think that while you can take that straight from the showroom floor and it's a great bike, I feel that if you bought one of these and you invested a bit of time and a bit of effort and a small amount of money, I think there'd be a possibility to make this an excellent bike as well.
We discussed that'd make a great kind of rally sort of trail bike build, because it's obviously lighter than the Tenere and the KTM. It's more agile. I mean, we've got a previous video with Michael Guy taking one through Thetford Forest, and it acquitted itself really well, being hammered really, really hard on that kind of trail. And I know riding you did was a bit different, but it's got so much potential, and an owner can probably unlock most of it. Yeah. But it'd be nice to see the factory kind of do that with the next gen, and actually the importer was saying there is a Euro 5 Plus version coming, because this particular test bike and the ones from the first batch that have already sold out instantly just on spec are Euro 5 only, so it'll be interesting to see if they've done anything more with that bike in between those kind of two iterations. So there's more to come from them. They're coming after the mainstream manufacturers, and they're achieving it. I
think people need to be really aware. I think manufacturers need to be aware that there is a real threat to them with some good quality, great value bikes from China, and it's a bit like the situation that happened in the sort of 70s when British manufacturers scoffed at Japanese, and look what happened there.
10 years later they're all out of business, and
I don't think that'll quite happen
No,
now.
maybe not, but
I think there are some interesting bikes coming onto the showroom floor that I think people can begin to start buying with a bit more confidence than perhaps they did 10 years ago.
I think so, yeah. Well, that concludes this video. What I should mention as well is make sure you buy a copy of next month's Ride magazine, because there'll be more detail on that test, because we're all fried, tired, and I've still not warmed up from last night. So there are lots more bits and pieces in there that you can read in that test. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you again soon. We couldn't have filmed this without Insta360, who provided us with all the cameras we needed to film 2 bikes covering large distances alone, beyond the reach of our video crew. This includes the brilliant X4, with its incredible 360-degree view, 8K and slow motion footage. It also has AI-powered editing and reframing options, flow state stabilisation and 360-degree horizon lock to give you those smooth shots. You can also use the invisible selfie stick for that signature third-person view, which for a limited time you can get free with any purchase of an Insta360 camera. Just use our exclusive code in the description below at the official Insta360 store.